Hi guys. Alright, so I've been going back and forth with a guy on one of Casey's videos. His name is Marc8533. And, I figured, because he wrote me this freaking novel here, that instead of just typing it all out and answering all this nonsense, that I would just make him his own special little video. So this is for you, Marc8533. I'm just going to go ahead and read his little book that he wrote me here and answer as I go along. He's quoting me here in parts of this, and this first part is a quote that I said to him. I said, "You're forgetting that the key had to have been planted by a cop. That came right out of the only other guy in the room besides Lincoln Colburn. The key wasn't there, then it was. Link and or Colburn would have been involved there. At least one of them also had access to Stephen's blood that was in evidence from the rape case. Both of them had access to his blood that would have been in the trailer from the cut on his finger. Both of them had access to his DNA, which was all over the trailer they were in multiple times. Do I really need to go further?" And this is what he says in response to that. He says, "There's no way the key was planted. 3 people in the room, so either 1, 2, or 3 were in on it. If all 3, there's no way they just drop the key on the floor and photograph it. Same goes with 2. No way both are going to go for dropping it on the floor like that. Colburn was search a desk." So he says, Colburn was searching a desk, I guess, and he's trying to say, at the time, and they could have just pulled it out of there without any speculation. Same if it was all 3. A million places to plant a key: under a bed, in a coat pocket, under a dresser, in the desk, basically anywhere in the house, I'm thinking, is what he's trying to say, where it doesn't look like it dropped out of a nightstand like it did. Okay, well, I'm just going to stop right there. First of all 3 of them, or 2 of the 3 of them, don't necessarily have to be involved. That's not what I was saying. I was saying that Link and or Colburn, okay, I'm not even accusing the other guy, the third guy. He didn't know anything about it. I don't believe. He's one of the Calumet officers who was supposed to be babysitting them. I've never accused him of knowing anything was going on. And as Link and Colburn may or may not have... Hello, Blurry. Thank you. Link and or Colburn may or may not have been in on it together, but I do believe that one or both of them could have been involved in it. I said could have been. Because I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't say which one of them actually had the key and put it where it was. Now, they were obviously jostling the thing around when it was being searched, the little nightstand. So it wasn't very hard to just drop a key out and go, oh, it must have just fallen out of there. Yeah, actually Link, well, he says something. I'm going to just go back on. So that leaves Link as the one that solely and single-handedly planted the key, right? You mean to tell me he's walking around with a key in his pocket that day, heading to work, gets out to Avery's house, and just slips it out and says, looky there, here's a key. No fucking way. And, okay. Yes, actually. Link, when he got up to go get the boxes, he went into the living room to go get the boxes. He was walking back into the room, stops in the doorway. He actually could have dropped a key on his way out and on his way back in, because Colburn was all the way over there looking at another part of the room by that time. So yeah, he could have. I think that it was Link. Hi, Ethan. I think it was Link that had the key. I think it was Link that dropped the key. Colburn may or may not have been aware of it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. One of them, or both of them, knew about it. One of them dropped that damn key. And he said, and where did he get the key in the first place? Did he find it on the property and want to move it to the house? That still implicated Avery as the killer. Oh, I know. Mike and Bobby gave him the spare key, right? How did he know the real key wouldn't be found? They'd have to be the killer to know that. See, none of what you said makes any logical sense. It's fucking stupid to believe that. Alright, so here's what I'm going to say about that. Where did he get the key in the first place, you ask? Who fucking knows? Who knows? Maybe someone, the killer, did give it to him. Maybe they found it in the fucking car when they found the car on November 3rd. Maybe they had it made just like the crime lab did. I don't know. I don't know where they got the key. It looks brand new, so I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that it was a brand new key that was just made. So I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't matter. I don't have to tell you where the key came from. All I know is that the only neutral officer that was in that room, out of the three of them, the only one, the Calumet officer, who's not involved, said the key wasn't there, and then it was. What else do I need to say about that? That's not stupid. That's what happened. The key wasn't there, and then it was. Anyway, and then so he goes on next, and then I give him, because he keeps pushing me to give a theory, and you guys know, I don't really like to give theories. I can tell you a theory, but I'm going to tell you this is a theory, this is what I think, maybe blah blah blah. But I don't like to name names. I don't like to accuse people and all this. So, I don't like this theory stuff unless I have some evidence to back it up. I don't want to say it because
I didn't do it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm telling him basically my semi-theory, I guess, just to throw something out there because he's like, there's nothing you can say that makes any sense. So he says, I say, so just for an example, without naming names, person A kills Teresa, leaves her body in the car somewhere like the quarry. Colburn finds it on November 3rd, calls in the plates to confirm. He could have very easily called someone else to help him at that point, to take the body somewhere to be burned, dump the car at Avery's, etc. And he says, boy, you didn't think that one through at all. So her rotting body was there for 3 days. No vultures around. Vultures, really? And no one else noticed a car sitting there in the quarry? Well, actually, yeah, somebody did notice her car sitting in the quarry. It was one of the tips that was called in, that her car was spotted at the quarry. Which one? I don't know. So how did person A get it there? He drove her car, obviously, but how'd he get home? He walked home? He walked 12 miles? Wow, 12 miles? You're assuming that 12 miles he's walking back to, where? Avery's? I like that he says 12 miles because 12 miles I actually mentioned that she left the property and got 12 miles away from the Averys before her phone stopped pinging. Something that Zellner confirms. So I like how he, just assumed that it's Stephen Avery walking 12 miles home. So he says, like I said, he asked me, how did person A get the car there? So they drove it. He drove her car, obviously, but how did he get home? I don't think that this person would have been doing this alone. I don't think that they would have been. They could have called someone. They could have had an accomplice. They could have left their own vehicle somewhere and dropped her off where their vehicle was. I don't know. I don't know. How would I possibly know? I wasn't there. I can't answer that question, obviously. He says, I'm not open-minded at all. You just blindly point your finger and make up a story, but don't open your mind to the details of how to do it. That's exactly what you're asking me to do. I only gave you that little example because you kept pushing and pushing and pushing for me to give you a theory. I don't want to give theories. I don't want to give shit that doesn't have evidence to back it up. I think that's pointless. I think it's irresponsible to go around pointing your finger at people. And that's exactly what you keep asking me to do. I don't want to do that. So stop asking me. And like I've said 5 or 6 times now, the defense doesn't have to prove innocence. The defense doesn't have to come up with a theory. In fact, because of the Denny motion, they weren't allowed to. Okay, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not the one that was there investigating this crime. If I was, some motherfucker would be in jail right now. That's not Stephen and Brendan because they didn't do it. Okay, and he says something about and no, Colburn is burning the body. A bunch of question marks. Laugh my fucking ass off. Why the fuck would he do that? I don't know. I never said Colburn would burn the body at all. I was referring to Colburn finding the car with Teresa in it, calling in the plates to confirm it, calling someone else. They make some kind of arrangements. They take her somewhere and burn it. Yeah. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Colburn was there for the burning or that he did it. It's enough to convict Avery, leaving the dead girl in the back of the RAV4 with Avery's stolen blood that has no EDTA in the passenger area. Okay. As far as the EDTA, way too many videos have been done about that. You probably should know by now that because they weren't able to test for such a low level of EDTA, the FBI coming up with this test last minute, recalibrating all of their equipment to do a test they hadn't done in 10 years because it's unreliable. And then they rushed it, something that takes months to do. They did it in weeks. Yeah, that test is not reliable. I'm sorry. So no EDTA, you don't know that for sure. Neither do I. Nobody knows that for sure, if there's EDTA in that blood or not. Also because if it's planted, it's diluted. How diluted, we don't even know. So no reason to burn it. I'm not even sure what he's talking about. Burn the car. And why take the plates off? Why unhook the battery? So they can pretend Avery thought of that? It makes no sense. How'd they know Avery was going to have a massive fire and lie about it? Look, nobody knows if Stephen Avery had a fire on the 31st or if it was a couple days before, a couple days after. Nobody really freaking knows. That's been debated. Because at first they were saying that they hadn't had a fire there in like 2 weeks. And then, well, maybe we could have had a fire, They didn't remember, all right? This is not a big deal because this is something that you do all the time. You burn your trash. You burn random crap that you want to get rid of, like van seats and tires and things like that, right, in the salvage yard. So this is a regular occurrence. It happens every once in a while. It happens all the time. I mean, compared to someone like me who never burns the trash. I throw it in a dumpster like a normal person. I throw it in a garbage bin or something. I don't live out in the middle of nowhere and burn my trash. I don't have giant pieces of trash like van seats and cabinets and tires and stuff that I need to get rid of all the time. So they burn their trash. It's not a big deal to not really remember, because it's not a big event, to remember the exact date of it. And plus, if you want to ask, for my opinion, my theory is that they were watching him. Just like they had Gregory Allen under surveillance, I think they had Stephen Avery under surveillance. I think that they fucked with him going back to when they locked Jody up again for a long time to get her out of the way. Just saying. I mean, there you go. Take away his alibi. She would have been right there with him if she hadn't have been in jail, right? So, yeah, I think they've had him under surveillance for a while. I think they've been watching for just the right time to set some shit up. So, yeah, they knew damn well he had a fire back there. Of course they did. It's a regular occurrence, not a big deal. Anyway, wow, this video is getting long. See, I told you, this is like a freaking a novel here he wrote, and he wants me to respond to all this. You have no way to answer these questions. Like I said, you are blindly making things up and create more questions than anything else. Yeah. Dude, you were the one that asked me to come up with some kind of theory or scenario. I told you I don't want to do that. It's stupid. Evidence is the only thing that matters. Theories don't matter unless you have evidence to back them up. Theories are dumb. It's a waste of time. Unless you're using it as a starting point to start looking for evidence to see if it's there. You look at evidence and you try to come up with a theory. What makes sense with what you've got right in front of you. Or you come up with a theory and you look for that evidence to see if you've got anything that could help confirm that theory. One way or the other. I don't like doing the second because I don't have any reason to come up with some stupid story. I have no way to look for this evidence. I'm not right there in Manitowoc. I'm not there. I'm close, but I'm not there. So I can't go looking for this. That's 10 years old. And then, I told him about an experiment I did last night with a friend of mine who has not seen the documentary. I don't even know how that's possible. She's never heard of Stephen Avery or any of this stuff. And I told her, so I'm just going to give you a little backstory. I told her all about this, but I told her the Kratz version. I told her the prosecution version of what happened. And of course, at first, she's like, well, he sounds pretty damn guilty to me. What's the problem? And I said, well, here is the problem. And then I told her the whole problem after going through all of the transcripts, after digging deeper, not just watching a documentary. All this information that's out there, after you go through all this stuff and you talk with people and you find things and you learn things, this is what the problem is, okay? And he says, I've done this experiment too several times with people that haven't seen it. They watch it and think he's innocent. There is no way to watch Making a Murder and not be brainwashed for a bit. I myself was brainwashed. I'm not brainwashed, dude. That was a starting off point for me. That was this can't end here. There has to be more. What is the problem here? This is obvious that something's wrong. And of course I start looking for information myself, because I'm not just going to blindly follow a documentary or the media or freaking Ken Kratz or anybody else and just believe what they say with no proof, no evidence. Okay, so I start looking, and not long after I start looking, there's crowd funds going on and stuff to get these documents released to the public so we could all go through them and look at them. That's when my real looking into stuff started. It was when those documents started getting released. And even going further than that, having conversations with people, months and months of of conversations and digging and talking and working through and sorting things out. Dude, I'm not brainwashed, okay? There's no way millions of people are brainwashed, all right? There's a lot of people who saw a problem with it, and then have started doing their own investigations. And I'm in several Facebook groups where that is exactly what's happening. Reddit, same thing. And then he said, let me just stop and ask you to try something. I want you to close your eyes and pick a person that you think killed her. Here he goes again, trying to get me to name a person. Then try to simulate every little detail. Simulate every little detail. I promise you, if you can do this honestly, only Stephen Avery can accomplish the murder of Teresa Halbach, and the evidence fits. Ignore the idiot Kratz version of the story. Only use the evidence and fit it to your own version, as if you're trying the police or a third-party killer. Not sure. Try them in your mind and see if the defense doesn't destroy you. The only way Stephen is framed is if Manitowoc, Calumet, State Police, Crime Labs, Auto Trader, FBI, his family, and Stephen Avery himself all contributed to the frame. Impossible. You're asking me again to come up with some kind of theory pointing the finger at anyone else. Man, I've already had my own suspects, and I still do, that aren't Stephen Avery, but they're based on, ooh, hello, there we go. They're based on things like, man, what is wrong with my freaking camera? Sorry. They're based on things like, dude, your story doesn't sound right. Something is wrong with this. I'm not going to name names, but everybody in the world probably, I'm sure, knows who I'm talking about with the bruises and the cuts on the hands, okay? That kind of stuff makes you go, it makes you wondering who this person is that was calling and harassing Teresa. Somebody that she knew, obviously, because, you know, she blows it off like it isn't a big deal. The comment she made to Tom Pierce about it. There's a lot of things that make you wonder, could it have been this person? Could it have been that person? Sure, I've looked at several people. Hello. Okay. This damn thing, I don't know why it keeps going blurry. Sorry. Yeah, I've looked at several people, and I've come up with, scenarios that can fit. But like I've told you so many times already, that's not the defense's job. The defense doesn't have to prove innocence. The defense doesn't have to prove who is guilty. And because of Denny, they're not even allowed to. Well, they weren't in this case. They weren't allowed to in Stephen's case. But I'm not going to do it. I don't have the information, the investigation that should have been done on all these people. If I could give you a name, I could give you 5 names, no problem. I can give you 5 fucking names right now that should have been looked into. If they would have done a proper investigation on any of these people, then maybe we would have some better answers on why this doesn't look right. But I can't answer that because they didn't. And that's the problem. I'm not going to come up with stupid theories that I can't prove with no evidence, that are just my personal feelings and thoughts. And you shouldn't do that either. And that's all I want to say. Again, for the last time, stop asking me to come up with theories. Stop acting like, because I don't want to, that I can't. Stop acting like, because I don't want to, that it has to mean that it's Stephen and Brendan did it, because it doesn't. And that makes no sense. That's not correct. And I don't mind going back and forth with you if you want to talk about one thing at a time. But dude, don't write me freaking novels like this, because I'm not going to sit there and type for 5 hours to answer each one of these little things. I'm just not going to. There's way too much to say. It's not like it's a 2-word answer. Your questions are really, they take explanation. So, you know, anyway, 25 minutes it took for me to speak that. I told you that it took me 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours to talk to my friend last night, okay, to explain all this stuff to her, and I didn't even begin to scratch the damn surface with her, okay? That's what I'm talking about. This isn't something that I can write down in a message on YouTube. It's not going to do any good, because we're talking about how long this is going to take. One thing at a time, and I will answer every single thing you want to throw at me. Please, just one at a time, okay? That's all I'm asking. And I guess that's all I'm going to say about this. Like I said, for everybody else that watched this for some random reason, thank you. Hopefully it didn't, you know, bore you to death or whatever. But like I said, I had to do a video response to this person because I just can't. I'm not going to spend that kind of time typing all this out. So anyway, there might be more of these, I don't know. But I'll let you know in the description, so you won't have to watch anymore if you aren't interested in this. But anyway, thanks for watching.